Did y'all hear about this? Steve Bannon is a co-conspirator in a $1 billion fraud case. Why ain't nobody talking about this? In a little noticed court filing earlier this month, federal prosecutors described Steve Bannon as a co-conspirator in a massive criminal fraud and racketeering case against a flamboyant far-right Chinese fugitive, compounding the legal headaches of the former Donald Trump advisor. Nobody's talking about this. Let's continue. FBI agents in March of 2023 arrested Guo Wengyi, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that last name incorrectly, a self-styled anti-Chinese government activist Bannon once advised. So Steve Bannon once advised this guy that was arrested. He was charged, him and two associates were charged with using a series of fraudulent investment opportunities to defraud thousands of Guo's supporters in the Chinese diaspora of more than $1 billion. Guo used the proceeds to fund a lavish lifestyle for him and his family, including a $3.5 million Ferrari, a $26 million mansion, a $140,000 piano, and two $36,000 mattresses. This is what is alleged by the Justice Department. Guo, who also goes by the names Miles Guo and Ho Wan Kwok, has pleaded not guilty. He has claimed his prosecution was the result of Chinese government pressure on the Justice Department. Deemed a flight risk, Guo has been denied bail and jailed since his arrest. I seem to remember that Steve Bannon was held in contempt for not adhering to a subpoena. Remember, he was subpoenaed by the January 6th committee and he just ignored it, and an arrest warrant was issued. He was held in contempt. I believe he hasn't gone to trial yet. I don't believe. If I'm wrong, y'all let me know down below. We also know that Steve Bannon was a part of that other fraud situation where they were supposed to be raising money to build the wall. Remember, they raised all of that money to build the wall, and then him and the guy that he was working with moved the money into a bank account. Yeah, there's also that situation. I believe there's some legalities going on with that situation as well. And remember, I told you, Ice Cube is tied to Steve Bannon. He's tied to Steve Bannon and the Qataris. Steve Bannon and the Qataris invested in his Big Three League. There's some issues going on with that as well that Ice Cube is all mixed up in now. But yet, Steve Bannon is still running around here free, working to overthrow democracy here in the United States. But now we know why Steve Bannon is working so hard to try to get Donald Trump elected, right? Because if Donald Trump gets elected, then he would be safe from prosecution and safe from having to spend time in jail. Truth be told, all of these people who have surrounded themselves, put themselves around Donald Trump and are working hard to get Donald Trump elected, it's because they're looking for the cover of protection from Donald Trump. Matt Gaetz, where you at? Yeah, you one of them. But back to this $1 billion fraud case that Steve Bannon is all mixed up in. He's a co-conspirator. Here we go. Bannon worked as an advisor for Guo from 2017 until at least 2020, helping Guo launch a series of media companies nonprofits, and other ventures. In June 2020, Guo and Bannon founded a group dubbed the Federal State of China, which they claimed was a government in waiting preparing to replace the Chinese Communist Party. Sounds a lot like the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. Guo paid Bannon at least $1 million and also gave Bannon use of a private plane, a Connecticut home, and a $30 million yacht where Bannon was living when he was arrested on unrelated federal fraud charges in 2020. I'm wondering if that's the case that's tied to the Build the Wall Fund. In January, federal prosecutors issued a new indictment of Guo and his co-defendants, which added racketeering, conspiracy, or RICO to the list of charges. That charging document named numerous Guo businesses and organizations, including the new federal state of China and other entities associated with Bannon. Bannon was not mentioned in the indictments of Guo and his associates and has not been charged in the case. But in a April 9th filing submitted ahead of Guo's trial, which is scheduled to start next month, prosecutors for the first time said Bannon was part of the alleged criminal conspiracy. In that document, federal prosecutors argued that during the trial, they should be allowed to cite records from a bank in Abu Dhabi where they allege Guo stashed more than $130 million that he misappropriated from investors. Prosecutors contend that in 2020 and early 2021, money in the account was steered to Guo's family and associates. The motion said the records also include evidence of a $1 million transfer to a company associated with Steve Bannon, a co-conspirator. The federal filing does not elaborate on Bannon's alleged role in the conspiracy. Former federal prosecutors said that the government's reference to Bannon as a co-conspirator is likely aimed at ensuring evidence related to the former Trump advisor can be admitted during trial. Out-of-court statements that will otherwise be barred as hearsay can be used as evidence if they come from an alleged co-conspirator, even if that person is not charged. Now, the article goes on to talk about all of what's entailed in regards to this fraud, but if they use evidence that ties Steve Bannon to this man, Guo, there is a possibility that the Southern District of New York can then turn around and file charges against Mr. Steve Bannon. This is interesting. Why is nobody talking about this? That's what I want to know. If Steve Bannon is tied up in it, and Steve Bannon is tied up with Donald Trump, what is really going on? That's what I want to know.